Is up, guys? So welcome to chapter 11 of Sallustius on the gods in the world. So we are, after today, 100% at least halfway through with this work, if not a little more. So it only goes to chapter 21 or 22, so we are almost there. Chapter 21 is the last one. Today we are doing chapter 11. So this is going to talk about the forms of government and how they're produced. So it says that, but the forms of polities or governments are produced according to the triple division of the soul. For the rulers are assimilated to reason, the soldiers to anger, and the common people to desire. So when it comes to leaders of government, you have three kinds of people. You have the rulers, the ones that are politicians, you can say, or even kings. Then you have the soldiers that rise to power that are led by anger. And then you have the common people that have desire. Hence, when all things are administered according to reason, and he who is the best of all men possess dominion, then a kingdom is produced. But when, from reason and anger in conjunction, more than one hold the reins of government, an aristocracy is produced. But when the government is carried on through desire from the common people, and honors subsist with a view to possessions, such a polity is called a democracy. A democracy is a political government where property, you have to have property to be a part of the government. So, and that's what it says right here. It says, again, honors that, let's go back a little. So that's what it means when it says, by where government is carried on through desire, and honors subsist with a view to possessions, which is, again, what democracy is. Such a polity is called democracy. So he gives you what that means. And that polity, which takes place in opposition to a kingdom, is called a tyranny. For the former administers everything, but the latter nothing, and according to reason. But the oligarchy, or the dominion of the few, is a contrary to an aristocracy, because in the former not the best, but only a few only, and those the worst, govern the city. And lastly, a democracy is opposed to a timocracy, because in the former not such as abounds in riches, but the multitude alone is the ruler of all things. So so democracy is not based on what you own, but the people, is basically what he's saying right here. So that's chapter 11, which is interesting. His opinion of where kingdoms and governments come from, it's from the kind of person that rules and leads, is basically what this is saying. So that's chapter 11, and we'll go ahead and go into chapter 12, which is probably the most interesting that you want to hear, because it is Sallustius on the origin of evil. And he addresses the question that a lot of us have, especially nowadays. Chapter 12 of Sallustius on the gods in the world. But how came evil into the world, since the gods are good, and the producing cause of all things? I know that you guys have asked that question too. When I say the gods are all good, then where's evil? Here we go. And in the first place, we ought to assert that since the gods are good and the authors of all things, there is not any nature of evil, but that it is produced by the absence of good. Just as darkness is of itself nothing, but is produced by the privation of light. But if evil has any substance, it must necessarily subsist either in the gods or in the intellects, in the souls or in bodies, but it cannot subsist in the gods, since every god is good. So basically he's saying that how darkness is the absence of light, evil is the absence of good, or the gods, and that it cannot be the gods because the gods are good, so people are evil, is what he's saying. And if anyone should say that the intellect is evil, he must at the same time assert that the intellect is deprived of intellect. But if soul, he must affirm that soul is worse than body, for every body considered according to itself is without evil. But if they assert that evil subsists from soul and body conjoined, it will certainly be absurd that things which separately considered are not evil should become evil from their conjunction with each other. But if anyone should say that a daemon are evil, we reply that if they possess their power from the gods, they are not evil. So there you go, talking about, that's another thing too, how people confuse daemons with demons and saying that they're evil. But it says here that if daemons, as we know, are messengers and they know the gods, then they cannot be evil. But if from something else, then the gods will not be the authors of all things. And if the gods do not produce all things, either they are willing but not able, or they are able but not willing. But neither of these can be ascribed with propriety to a god. And from hence it is manifest that there is nothing in the world naturally evil, but about the energies of men. And of these things not at all, and not yet always evil appears. Indeed, if men were guilty through evil itself, nature herself would be evil. But if he who commits adultery considers the adultery as evil, but the pleasure connected to it as good, if he who is guilty of homicide considers the slaughter evil, but the riches resulting from the deed as good, and if he who brings destruction on his enemies considers the destruction as evil, but taking revenge on the enemy as good, and souls are by this means guilty. Hence evil will be produced through goodness. So there could be a good intention because they want something good out of the evil they do. Just as while light is absent, darkness is produced. Again, just saying that the absence of light is darkness, which at the same time has no substance in the nature of things. The soul therefore becomes guilty because it desires good, but it wanders about good because it is not the first essence. But that it may not wander, and that when it does so, proper remedies may be applied, and it may be restored, and many things have been produced by the gods. For arts and scientists, for arts and sciences, virtues and prayers, sacrifice and initiations, laws and polities, or governments, judgments and punishments were invented for the purpose of preventing souls from falling into guilt. And even when they depart from the present body, gods and daemons purify them from guilt. Interesting. So the gods have given us things to help prevent evil, such as virtues and prayers, arts and sciences, sacrifices and initiations, laws and government. If you break the law, you're going to get punished for it. Judgments and, again, punishments even. Interesting. So basically, evil could be produced because they think they are doing good, the person, but it's actually bringing evil to the world. Interesting. And the main thing to get from chapter 12 is that the gods are not the source of evil. So I hope you guys enjoyed Sallustius on the gods and the world. That is chapter 11 and 12. And like I said, that brings us halfway and more than halfway done. I hope you have enjoyed this video and answer some questions, because I know you guys have been having that on what is evil and where does it come from. I'll see you next time. Bye.